Now we've got to think about our exterior windows. So one thing you'll notice is that the doorways are 1 foot down from the ceiling. And generally when you're building, you try and keep the tops of the windows all at the same elevation and similar elevation to the top of the doors. So I'm going to go around the building and I'm going to bring a construction line, which is these dash lines, down all the way around, and that's going to be where I place the top of all my windows. Just standardize things, makes it easier for building, and pretty much how it's done out in the real world. You can connect these, if it'll intersect, or just type in 1 foot. Make sure you're on the right plane, so it's actually going in the direction you want it to go in. And I got my last one here, I think. And there's not going to be a window at where the main door is anyway. So I've got those all figured out. Now, say in my living dining room here, I want a couple nice bigger windows. I want the two of them spaced evenly apart on this wall. So I'm going to look at where my center point is. So there's a center point, and I want some fairly large windows. So I'm going to go with a 54-inch window, which is 4.5 feet high. And I'm going to leave a gap in the middle here of 2 feet, so I'll come 1 foot out from each of these. And then I'm going to do 2 windows. And I think I'm going to do 54 inches by 48. So I could take my tape measure tool from here and just go in and type 4 feet or 48 inches. May as well do that, and then it just makes it easier to connect. So I'll grab it in this corner to there, and then I'll go from here down to here, and there I've got 2 rectangles drawn. I can grab my push-pull tool and I can go ahead and push those in and type in 6 inches, and it will push it basically into nothing and punch a hole through the wall. So there we go, we've got those 2 front windows looking into the living and dining room punched out. Now, on this wall, I want to have a smaller window on this side of the dining room. So I'm going to come down. Actually, I'm going to come up from the floor because I want it to be at least 40 inches from the floor. And that way the same height of window can be used in the kitchen. And the reason we have to use a window in the kitchen that's a little higher off the floor is because of countertops. And you don't want the window to be below the countertop. So I'm going to stick a window in here. I'm going to go the same distance that we went over on this from the corner here. So this is 30 inches. So I'm going to come over from this corner 30 inches, put a mark, a construction line, and then I'm going to come over 4 feet, and I'm going to put a decent sized window facing the other direction into that dining room. I like having a lot of light coming into my rooms. And then in the kitchen, I'm going to just put 1 window in the back here because I think I want to have cabinets all along this wall and maybe the stove or something like that where I don't want a window. So in this case, I'm going to do it from the inside because I want the walls or the window centered in this wall. So I'm going to grab my tape measure tool. I'm going to bring and put a center mark in there, and I'll redo that 1 foot down line so I know where the top of my window is. And I'm going to bring a line up from the bottom, making sure that it's 40 inches off the floor. And I think we're just going to go with a 3 foot window, so I'm going to measure 1.5 feet this way, 1.5 feet this way, and then still that's a fairly decent sized window, and that could be sort of right above your sink, so you got a nice view as you're washing the dishes or whatever, and then punch that through 6 inches. So I'll come through and I'll do this window here. I'll push that through. And starting to look a little more like a house. No window in the utility room, and I don't think I'm going to put a window in the bathroom either, because this back wall is where I'm going to put my tub, and I really don't want a window in my shower or my tub. It's just a bad idea. And bedrooms. So with some design theory, they talk about how it's nice to have windows on two sides of every bedroom. I'm going to try that here. So on this back and the front, I'm going to put in a window, a similar sized window. Now, bedroom windows have to meet certain criteria. They have to be able to open, and they have to be a minimum size so that someone could get out in an emergency. So I'm going to come down. You don't want a window in a bedroom that goes right to the floor because people are changing and you don't want to have that much view. So lots of people want some privacy. So I'm going to come down 42 inches. That's still fairly large, but not huge. I'm going to come across and center this on this wall. Come over from this point and click it on the midpoint. And then I'm going to go with a 42-inch window. So I'm going to go 21 inches this way, 21 inches that way, and then punch this through. Push it through 6 inches. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing on this opposite side here. And if you're wanting to line things up, it's not really necessary, but you can bring a construction line across, and there's your center point. And we will do the same thing. We'll come up. All right, let's go check how big that was first. I think it was 42 high and 42 wide. So we'll just make a square. So we'll come across here 21, and we'll come across here, go 42 if you want. Come across, and we'll come down here 42. We've got a nice square window, and click. Make sure you zoom in because you got some odd construction lines that are overlapping. And then we can punch that window through once again. Now, if you don't type in your 6 inches, you could potentially punch it further than you want, and it ends up being a box inside the room, which is not what you want, and you're going to have to control and undo that, and then go back, push it the direction you want it to go, type in 6 inches. Okay? And that's going to get more of what you want. Now, to have two smaller windows on these other walls, just to let light in more of the time, more of the day, you're going to have to watch and pay attention because you still want to have a wall that you could put a bed on. So you're going to have to think about that. This is really not big enough, so your bed is going to have to go here and here. And the only way you can really do that is by putting what's called a piano window in. So we can do that just for the heck of it. We'll measure another line down 2 feet. Oops, Control Z. It was in the wrong plane, so we'll measure down. Oops, Control Y. I'm going to pop that back in, and we're going to come down. Oh, I'm having some issues with my parallel lines. Let me get rid of a bunch of these. I'm going to delete the guides now. And unselect some things, and let's try this again. So come down 1 foot for the top, Down from there 2 feet. Now we'll come across here, and I'm going to center it on this wall here. Control Z, I'm going to come across from here, and I want it centered. Let me do that. No. Some issues with the construction lines. So let's try this again. So I just undid a few things there just to kind of reset some things. So I've got my 2 lines that are spaced the distance I want them apart. Now I've clicked over here and I'm going to drag this to the midpoint inside the room. I'm going to do the same thing, on the opposite side. I'm going to drag this to the midpoint, so 60 inches on the other side of the room. And then I can create this center line of where I want that window to go. And once that's done, I'll measure across 1.5 feet, and I'll put a 3-foot wide window in here. So I'll go 3 feet from that line, and we'll come across here 1.5 feet, and we'll come back 3 feet from that. And we'll just punch these windows in here. And the other one here, and we'll push them through 6 inches. Okay, so we've got those windows, and the last window that I would like to put in is just a narrow window into this entranceway, and I can just click it to the top of that. I'm going to bring this across so it's centered on the wall there. Bring this down, and I'm going to go with a real narrow one, 2 foot wide. 1 foot one way, 1 foot the other, and I'll make it 42 inches tall. And trace that in. We got a nice window into our entrance. Let some light in, and we'll punch that through 6 inches. Okay, now I'm going to go through and delete guides, and we have our house windows and doors completed. So at this point, let's take this, select it, and make it into a component, and create. There we go. So now nothing we do to this is going to screw around with it and mess with it. So if we grab it by accident, it's going to move the whole thing and not just pull a wall or a corner out of square. Okay, good. So that's the end of making your walls and windows, and we're going to go into doing the roof next. So take some time and get that finished up, and we'll finish up in a little bit.